Go. Hey, sports fans, PB&Z Sports Chaos, we're back at you. And by the way, PB, I did leave New England. I went out to Chicago. I have a little brew here. It's called the Lizard King from something called Pipeworks Brewing out in Chicago. Maybe you've had it. You've been there a bunch of times.
Yeah, but I haven't had the Pipeworks. I've had a few beers out there, but not that one.
Okay, all right. Hey, we're going to do a football episode this week because we want to talk about our midseason thoughts on our playoff picks, who we think are the best teams, what it looks like for the rest of the season. But I have one little quick point of interest for the Boston fans. The Red Sox rehired Alex Cora today. He's back in the saddle. Many of us thought it was going to happen, but Heim Bloom, we didn't think would like to take him back because he's on a Heim Bloom guy. Ownership said, you got to hire him, Heim, so Alex is back. Good for him. All right. PB, are you ready?
I'm ready to go. Let's talk football.
All right, let's talk a little college football first of all. Pac-12 supposed to kick off this weekend, but already a hiccup. Cal and Washington were supposed to play. COVID canceled that game already. They're down to 5 games now. By the way, all 3 military academies were on the books today for this weekend. They're all canceled. They all got COVID at the military academies. That's a shame. The Big Ten, Wisconsin is now canceled the 2nd game in a row. PB, we talked about this. I'm going to talk about it momentarily. But they're down to 6 games now. They've 2 games out. And the Big Ten has a rule. If you don't play 6 games, you don't play for the playoffs. So Wisconsin is on life support right now. They got 1 more cancellation. They're done. I've got to ask you a question. Should there be a minimum amount of games any team must play to be qualified for the CFP?
Yeah, and I don't even know if 8's the number. You know, I don't even know if 8's the number. I think everyone's saying if Ohio State runs the table, they can make it, but I can give you a scenario where they wouldn't make it. Like probably a couple scenarios. I'll be talking about that in a minute.
Yeah, give me one right now. What do you got? What's one of the
Well,
scenarios?
I mean, let's just assume Notre Dame beats Clemson this weekend without Trevor, right? And then they go on to run the table. They're in for sure, right? As an undefeated team. Clemson as a 1-loss team is still going to be in it. If the Georgia
One thing. That means Clemson and Notre Dame will have a rematch in the ACC championship. So either Clemson will have 2 losses at that point, or Notre Dame will have 1 themselves.
Okay, so let's just say they both have a loss. All right?
Yeah.
And take the Florida-Georgia winner this week. If that team that wins this week runs the table, including beating Alabama in the SEC championship, for sure, Alabama would still be in as a 1-loss team. There's your 4 teams. So that leaves Ohio State out of the equation. And we haven't even talked about Cincinnati, who potentially could be an undefeated team as well going into the, that decision. I don't think
I got a wild card for you.
I'm still on my no Big Ten team bandwagon. I'm staying on it.
I got to agree. I mean, Ohio State, they can't have a no contest. That's for sure. They have to go the whole gamut and win their championship to even be considered, for sure. My wild card is this. If Ohio State loses 1 game, because at this point in time, they're in if they run the table. And if they have 1 win and 1 loss, I still think they win the Big Ten, unless it's in the playoff. Whoever has 1 loss in that Big Ten, if they have to go against a BYU team for the last pick, and BYU's undefeated, BYU will get the pick.
All right. Well, there's another one. There's another scenario. So I think there's too many things right now that can keep that Big Ten team out, and I think it's going to happen.
So back to my original question. Is there a minimum amount of games you have to play no matter what to even be considered?
Well, you said that was 6, right?
Well, in the Big Ten for their playoff.
Oh, okay. I mean, if other teams are playing 12 games, I don't understand how you can play 6 or 7 and make the CFP.
Right. So you probably have to play 9. Big Ten has an 8-game schedule and the playoff. You have to play 9 at the end of the day, in my opinion.
Okay. I like it.
All right. Right now, You already kind of laid it out, but your picks for this CFP is Alabama, Clemson.
Yeah, I'm still sticking with Clemson and Alabama as my top two. And you had Georgia, I had Florida. I think that is still viable. That winner of that game this weekend will be a potential to be in the CFP. They'd obviously have to run the table. And then after that, I mean, if Notre Dame takes down Clemson this weekend and goes on to either run the table or I don't even know as a one-loss team, if they lost to Clemson in a close game in the ACC championship, could they still get in? So Clemson, Alabama, Florida, because I think Florida's going to beat Georgia this weekend. And then it could be Notre Dame. It could be Cincinnati. I would hate for it to be Ohio State, but those are the teams you're looking at.
I will say this. Clemson gets a pass this weekend. Win or lose, they lose it. A win, it's all done. If they lose, the playoff committee has already come out and said availability is one of our conditions. The best player in the field is not available. We will not hold that against them, basically is what they've said. So Clemson can lose this game just like they could have lost last week. Believe it or not, they were losing as we were texting all weekend long with our peers. They were losing to BC. They came back and won that game. They could have lost last weekend to BC, this weekend to Notre Dame, and they would still get a pass as long as they beat Notre Dame in the playoff and be in the playoffs. It's unbelievable, and I think it's the right thing.
What if they lose to Notre Dame now and then lose to them again in the playoffs? You think they're out?
Well, that's a different story, correct. If they get swept, you're right. That's a different story. 2 losses at that point in time. And then it depends how the rest of the chips fall, right, at that juncture. Right. They're definitely no better than 4, though. They will not be a 3 if they lose to Notre Dame twice.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that momentarily. We're going to pick that game, fans, and I got some news for you what I think about that one. All right. Hey, Heisman Trophy. You got a front runner?
I mean, it's got to be Trevor, despite his COVID situation.
PB, I'm with you, but I can't believe the odds makers have already made him 3rd because he missed the game due to COVID and going to miss this week due to COVID. He's already behind Justin Fields from Ohio State, who's only played 2 friggin' games. I don't get it. Mac Jones, he's having an incredible year for Alabama. I'm okay with that. He can't be behind Justin Fields. There's no way.
I agree.
All right. Let's get to our picks. By the way, Z was 4-0 last week. I'm starting to roll. 8-2 for the weekend, including my pick 6s. I won't brag, but fans, if you want to make money, just listen to what I say. Michigan goes to Indiana. I can't even believe this, PB. Michigan lost to Michigan State. They were a 20-something point favorite. They lost, but yet they're still favored over Indiana, who's 2-0 after beating Penn State. Michigan's a 3-point favorite. Who do you like there?
Yeah, I think this is where the other shoe drops for Indiana, though, this weekend. And Michigan, big wake-up call with that loss to Michigan State. So I know it's you're giving points on the road, but I'll take Michigan and lay the 3.
You know what? IU has a quarterback for once. I'm going to take Indiana. All right. Okay. In the Big 12, these 2 teams were only picking this game because it's one of the closer games of the Big 12 this week. But one of them could make a surprise at the end of the season and be in the playoffs. Texas goes to West Virginia. West Virginia, a big win last weekend. Texas, though, is a 6.5-point underdog. Who do you like?
Yeah. Texas is a 6.5-point favorite.
I mean, a favorite, correct. Yes. I'm sorry.
And it's at Texas. The game's at
okay.
Yeah, it's at Texas. Texas at home. West Virginia had a big win last weekend. So I think they kind of had their moment of glory there. Texas is at home this weekend, so I'm going to lay the 6.5 and take the Longhorns.
I'm with you. I think that Texas can cover a touchdown there. All right, the big one in the SEC down south, your country. Florida goes to Georgia. Georgia's a 3.5-point favorite in that game. By the way, Georgia's a 3.5-point favorite. Florida last week, their coach Dan Mullen fined $25,000 for inciting a riot in that Missouri game. He came off the sidelines to protect his quarterback, pretended to be Darth Vader in his post-game presser. Dan Mullen, you're an idiot. I'm going to tell you right now, my pick, first of all, it's Georgia easily covers that. Who do you like?
Yeah, we made our picks for the beginning of the year. You took the Bulldogs as your 4 team to make the CFP. I took the Gators. So, and they'd both be right there in this conversation if neither of them had a loss yet, and they do. So what that means is the loser of this game is out. The loser of this game will not make the CFP. The winner of this game will likely end up playing Alabama at the end of the year in the SEC championship. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Georgia. I think this is going to be a close game, though, and it will be a field goal difference. So that means I'll take the 3.5 with Florida, but I think they have a chance to win the game outright, too.
Woo! So you got Florida. All right. Last one, the big one we talked about just a few minutes ago. Clemson goes to Notre Dame. There's no fans in the stands, so there's no fighting Irish advantage there. Clemson, for the first time in 41 games, is less than a touchdown point favorite. They're only 5.5-point favorite. Who do you like there?
Yeah, I mean, Clemson barely hung on last week against Boston College. Notre Dame's obviously better than Boston College. It's at Notre Dame, 5.5 points. I'm going to take Notre Dame with the points here, and I, again, think there's a chance that they could win the game outright.
All right, so you're wrong on 2 occasions there. First of all, BC will give Notre Dame a hard game next week because they have the better quarterback. Jervik, who used to be the Notre Dame quarterback, plays for BC now. Book, I don't think is that good. Clemson will win this game, and the kid DJ I cannot pronounce his last name, will have another big game for them.
And they cover?
Easily.
And they cover? Okay.
Easily. Probably 10 points. All right. Let's get on to NFL talk now. Hey, we got some COVID impact driving the NFL right now. The latest rumor is if games are postponed and they can't play the last week, we could have a 16-team playoff this year as opposed to the 14. So 4 wild cards, not 3. I happen to like that. I don't know about you. What do you think?
It'll make for good TV, good ratings.
I think so. By the way, the Raiders got punished. Finally, they deserve it. $650,000 in fines for not wearing their mask, being stupid with COVID. So good for them. All right. Trade deadline. I don't think anything really is relevant in the trade deadline. Did you?
No. I mean, you had DeAndre Washington got traded from Kansas City up to Miami. I'm not sure what kind of impact he's going to have up there. The Patriots picked up Isaiah Ford from Miami. I don't know what kind of an impact he'll have there. My biggest one was Quan Alexander going from the Niners to the Saints. I think he can probably have the biggest impact, probably help the team more than anybody else. So I would say that's the one trade that I think could actually help a team. The rest of them, to me, there's no real big names here, no real big players here.
A lot of rumors out there, but nothing ever transpired. All right. Let's take a look back. We're at the midway point now, PB, our playoff picks.
Yeah.
How's it look for you?
Well, I mean, we're Josh had said something about how we were way off with our preseason picks that we had made. And you know
Casey what? Josh, the clown that likes KC.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? We're not that far off. We both had Buffalo winning the East. We both had Indy winning the South, and we both had KC winning the West. So we're sweeping that. We both had Baltimore winning the North, and granted, the Steelers having a great year, but you had them as a wild card anyway. So, and Baltimore obviously would be a wild card now. So there's 4 teams were spot on. And then you had Tennessee and Pittsburgh as your wild card. So you got 6 out of 7 there, and New England is your only pick that's not panning out in the AFC. I also had New England. That's not panning out. I had Houston as a wild card. That's not panning out. And my other wild card pick was my long shot, which Miami Dolphins, and they're still hanging in there. So I'm at 5 out of 7. You're at 6 out of 7. I don't consider that to be too bad considering the parity in the NFL. Over in the NFC, same deal. We both had New Orleans and we both had Seattle. Seattle's winning. New Orleans is a half game behind Tampa, but we both had Tampa in as a wild card, so we're good there. We're 3 for 3. We both had Dallas. That was our one bad pick, but obviously they've suffered so many, injuries and everything else, as have the 49ers. So those 2 picks right now aren't looking so good for us. But the other 2 areas here that I am doing very well in that you're not doing so well is the NFC North. I had Green Bay. You had Minnesota. I got the first place team. You got the last place team there. And then you had Philly as your wild card, but lo and behold, they're going to win the division. So you're going to have a save for you right there. And then I had Arizona as my other wild card, and they're obviously in the hunt as a wild card right now. Actually, they would be a wild card as of right now. So on that side of the equation, I'm 6 for 7, minus, 6 for 7 if you take out Dallas. If you want to say San Francisco's out of it, you could say 5 out of 7. And for you, Philly, you're also 5 for 7 because you just have Minnesota out and Dallas out. And, San Francisco is hanging in there still. So we're not that far off, folks, and we'll see where the year ends up.
And I will say San Fran, I think, because they have, to your point, way too many injuries. I don't think they hang on. They've done a great job so far, and we'll talk about that momentarily, what I think about Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
Minnesota has a very easy schedule going forward. I think they're out, but I would not be surprised they pull it out at the end of the day. I would not be surprised. And the Cowboys, another team with catastrophic injuries. You lose 3 Hall of Famers on the offensive line. Dak Prescott. It's been a horrendous year for those guys. So yeah. I will say this about the Pats. The one thing I'm going to say about the Patriots, their biggest problem right now, they don't have a general manager. Bill Belichick is not a good GM, and he can blame the salary cap, but here's a stat. In the last 10 years, they've been under the league average for salary 7 times. So he says, we won 3 Super Bowls, we were in a 4th, we won an AFC championship, that's why our money's gone. You haven't spent it, Bill. You're a liar. You sound like Trump. Shut up. You got to be a better GM. Hire somebody to be the GM going forward, Bob Kraft. Please do us a favor. That's all I'm saying.
And this even just speaks more to Brady and how awesome he really is. And the team did everything that they did because of him. It all started the minute he got off that bench and came in for Drew Bledsoe, and it ended, unfortunately ended with a pick 6 to Tennessee last year. But prior to that, had won three out of 4 Super Bowls in years. So it's all Brady. It's all Brady.
Hey, I got to ask you a question. If you had a team that did this last week, 2 teams in a game, total yards 471, other team 141, rushing yards 181, other team 55, passing yards 340, other team 90, first downs 31, other team 8, time of possession 36-29, other team 23-31. Who would have won?
You would obviously think the team with the better statistics and the more yards, the more time possession and all of that.
Yes. By the way, that was Rams-Dolphins. And that's why, fans, I say the Dolphins will be 79 and not making the playoffs. All right. Tell me your top 6 teams right now, PB, in the NFL.
Top 6 teams in the NFL. I think you've got to go with number 1 overall for me is the Kansas City Chiefs still.
I'm with you.
Number 2, I'm going to go Pittsburgh Steelers.
I'm with you on that.
Number 3, I'm going to go Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I got Seattle 3 because
I got Seattle 4, and only because of the defense, and also because both of us picked Kansas City and Tampa in the Super Bowl this year.
Right.
So basically,
Tampa at the end of the year, but right now at the moment, Seattle gets a leg up.
Okay, so you have it. What do you have Tampa Bay at?
4th.
All right, so we just have those flipped. 5 for me is Green Bay.
Green Bay's not in the running. Their defense is horrendous. Okay. And if San Fran had a quarterback last night, Green Bay would have lost that game. So I got Baltimore as 5th.
Okay, and I don't have Baltimore in my top 6 because my number 6 is going to be New Orleans.
I got New Orleans as 6 as well. Yeah, Green Bay is going to be a one and done. First round out of the playoffs. Yeah,
but you got Aaron Rodgers running the show there, and he's in the running for MVP as well. I mean, I wouldn't put it past him.
They got trounced by the Vikings, and I think that's going to continue for them. They have no defense. All right, give me your top 5 in the AFC right now at this moment.
Well, obviously, KC and Pitt would be the top 2. And then on my next top 6 were all NFC teams after that. So after KC and Pittsburgh, I'd have to go number 3 would be Baltimore.
I'm with you on that.
Number 4 is probably Indy. And there's your 3-4. That's a game this week, Baltimore and Indy. So I'm going to go 4 with Indy. And 5, I'll give to Buffalo's just hasn't impressed me with the way they've struggled with the Jets, the Patriots. So I'm gonna slide Tennessee into that 5 spot.
I got Tennessee 4 and Indy 5.
Okay.
All right, give me in the NFC. We already got you got Tampa Bay, I got Seattle, and then they flip-flop for each one of us.
Yeah.
You got Green Bay, obviously third. It sounds like I got New Orleans third, right?
Yeah. So I got Seattle, Green Bay, New Orleans, and then after that, I'm not sold on the Bears. That's going to take us down to the Rams potentially, but you know what? I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals right now. I think the Arizona Cardinals are the 5th best team in the NFC.
I got Rams. I think they have been more experienced at this point in time. I'm going to take the Rams. All right. Your MVP candidates at this point in time. Who do you like?
It's hard not to give it to Russell Wilson at this stage of the season. I still think in the end, Patrick Mahomes, watching that guy play, he's incredible. He's incredible. He's just an unbelievable quarterback. So I'm gonna say Mahomes would be my favorite, but I can see why Russell Wilson would win. And then after that, if Aaron Rodgers keeps doing what he's doing with the Packers, I mean, he's putting up numbers. He's having a great year. I would say he would be third. And I'm not even going to discount Brady out of this conversation because Brady, if he starts putting up 3 and 4 touchdowns a week and playing like he did last week, he's just been up and down, up and down. But if he takes that team to the number 1 or 2 seed and does some stuff, he could be the MVP as well. So
I got a number 2 right now after Russell Wilson. I got a wild card for you, PB. I heard this the other day on a show, and I thought about it. When you think about a guy who's really doing yeoman work for his team, even though they don't have a great record at this point in time, but compared to where they were a year ago, Joe Burrow.
Okay. All right.
He's doing unbelievable. All right, Coach of the Year. Who do you got for the Coach of the Year?
You know what? I'm going to go right now with my 2 wild cards that you made fun of at the beginning of the year. I talked about my wild card specials in the AFC with the Dolphins, the NFC with the Cardinals. Both of them have a legitimate shot at that wild card. Cardinals certainly do. So I'm going to go with Kingsbury and Flores right now as my 2 front runners.
I'm with you. I got Kingsbury 1, Flores 3rd. I got Mike Vrabel. Tennessee deserves credit for what they had to overcome this year and still be playing well. I got Vrabel in there. I got a little wild card for you. This guy has done an incredible job. Until last night, his team was 500, totally decimated. He has 5 All-Pros out of his lineup due to injury. Kyle Shanahan has done an unbelievable job to keep his team in the running. As you mentioned earlier, they're still in the running for the playoff. Kyle Shanahan should be considered for Coach of the Year. And if they get to 500 or better, he should automatically get it.
Interesting. Okay.
All right, let's do our pick 6. You had a good week last week, right?
No, I don't think. I think maybe I went 4 and 2 or 3 and 3. I missed on the Patriots. I did take the Patriots. You took the Bills, and then I had the Raiders, and you had the Browns. So we ended up the same. Whatever it was, we had the same record. I think
4 and 2. 4 and 2.
Both won
That
3
was
and
one of
3.
the better weeks. 4 and 2. By the way, that made me 8 and 2 on the weekend in picks. 80%. Vegas is calling me. All right. Chicago goes to Tennessee. Who do you like?
Yeah, I've been kind of knocking Chicago all year. I thought they got off to a phony fake start there with their record, and I think their record's not indicative of that team, really. I know they played a tough one with New Orleans last week, but this road game, Tennessee, we just talked about them. We have them ranked in our top, 5 in the NFC, in the AFC. I think Tennessee Titans take them down.
You had me thinking you were going to Chicago for a minute. All right, I got Tennessee as well. All right. Baltimore goes to Indy. Your team for the number 1 seed. I think they finished no better than the 4th seed. Who do you like?
Yeah, I mean, Indy's not impressing me like I thought they would be, but I still think they can get it done. They get it done defensively for sure. They're protecting Rivers. Baltimore's, I've never been sold on Baltimore. I think they're kind of like the Bears of the AFC in a way. So as much as our Baltimore fans aren't going to like this, on the road, in the dome, I'm going to take the Colts. I'm taking the Colts.
All right. Dolphins and the Cardinals.
Hey,
I
who do you
really
got?
thought we'd have this game featured, but it's a playoff eliminator potentially. The Dolphins go out west of the Cardinals. What do you think?
Wait, who do you have on the Colts game first?
Oh, I got Baltimore.
Oh, okay. All right. So we got Miami going to Arizona. I know. Here we go. My two teams I just talked about, Coach of the Year, my two wild cards, right, for the playoffs that I picked at the beginning of the year, playing each other now. The Dolphins have owned the NFC West. They destroyed San Francisco before they had a lot of their injuries, right? They hung in with Seattle till the very end, and they beat the bejesus out of the Rams last week. I know a lot of defensive, prowess that came out there, but you know what? I'm going to continue this domination of the NFC West by the Dolphins, and I'm going to take them to beat the Cardinals this weekend.
Good luck with that one. I got the Cards. All right. Raiders go to the Chargers. This is a playoff elimination game as well, maybe, for the Raiders if they don't win. Who do you like here?
And the game's a pick. It's a pick in Vegas, so it's split right down the middle. I think the Chargers are going to win, though. I'm going to go with Los Angeles Chargers in this one.
I think the Raiders are going to use the motivation of all the fines they just got, and they're going to win this game. I got Raiders.
Wow, we're different on almost every pick this week.
Yep. All right. Seattle goes to North Country, up to Buffalo. I wish the weather was as bad as last weekend, but I don't think it's going to be. Seattle goes to the Bills. Seattle's D is bad. Josh Allen's Cinderella slipper fell off. Who do you like?
Yeah, Buffalo's just not impressing me as of late. And I think, I think Seattle's the better team. I just think they're the better team. I'm going to take the Seahawks on the road.
I am as well. All right, the big one. TB12 in his rematch against the Saints. Who do you like in this game? Number one seed implications all around. And by the way, Antonio Brown is playing this week.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, Brady usually doesn't lose to the same team twice in the same, season in a division like that. I don't know when the last time he even has done that. Lost that opening game. So it's the second time seeing him. And I'm surprised he even lost that opening game because he usually plays well down there in the Dome. So this is definitely a revenge factor kicking in. With his complement of guys, Godwin's going to be back too. I think the Bucs take this game. And it's going to have number one implications, right? Number one overall.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm with you. By the way, the guy that's going to have the best game, Gronkowski. They finally learned how to use him correctly. So I see Gronk doing it. All right. We're different on what? 4 games?
Yeah, I think we only got the same pick on 2.
All right. We'll see what happens. Good week. Good show, brother. Best of luck. PB&Z signing off. Have a good weekend, sports fans.